I see this mistake done time and time again at the tournaments I go to and the tournaments I hear about from friends who played there. This tip to counter the mistake works in any edition, including the current 9th and forthcoming 10th edition, and it should work for any tournament, not just an upcoming one in, say, Manchester. Don't netlist. Don't look to copy the newest hotness. Don't start a new army specifically for a tournament. Use the army you have got. Hear me out. I have a few points on this. Your army might seem bad, but you know its flaws and issues, and if you have played them long enough, you can counter this. Now, this isn't going to auto-win you tournaments, but this is why the video title is about what is losing you tournaments. My first point is, player experience with an army matters heavily. There are so many variables that you may not have considered that come with tournament play compared to casual play. It's important to be using an army you can recite the rules of in your sleep, because that is the state you could be in. When Space Marines got a new codex in 9th edition and were great, I tried them after leaving them on the shelf for so long, and I was bad. I forgot a lot of their rules, didn't understand others, and wasn't used to their playstyle. That is going to happen to you at tournaments if you are not familiar enough with your army. At tournaments you are tired, you have travelled, you had to get up early, you haven't eaten right, and you play a lot of long games of 40k. When you move on to your third game, you're still thinking about the previous 2 battles, and as the day or days go on, you drift more into autopilot. If you aren't familiar enough with your army, you will forget key rules, feel angry at yourself, and lose the drive to keep playing, so psychologically, you surrender. The people who win tournaments often do so with a new style of play, not one copied from other people. They figured out what could work, tested it to see if it would work, and then played it at the event. In 2022, when Space Marines were at an all-time low in win rates, one tournament player won a big tournament by playing their army in a slightly different way. Games Workshop recognised that this didn't fix the overall win-loss rate for Space Marines, but it did show that any army could win regardless of the overall meta. So if you're debating whether to switch army and try something new with a higher percentage win rate, don't. Use the time to refine your tactics and tweak your regular army list. Another reason is about chasing meta. Let's think of this in rock, paper, scissors terms. It's simplified, but let's go with it for convenience. Say there's a tournament in the past where rock won, and there were a lot of rock players with high scores. Do you take paper for the next tournament? Or do you go even further? Assume a lot of other players will go for paper and make a scissors army. Are enough players going to change away from rock to be worth it? Playing an army you know, regardless, will stop that stress, and meta chasers will probably not see it coming. Not hyperfixating on the meta will give you more of a psychological rest. You haven't put as much mental energy in, and you can relax at the tournament. Stress will do you in. And you want to have a fun time to relax at a tournament. That is surely why you go. Bring the best version of your army, not one that was recommended online, where you can see how it works in theory. You know how your army works in practice. And as a wise man with push-on glasses once said, there is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. I have been playing since 2nd edition. I have been to tournaments big and small. I met a player who joined the club I was at and was sure that his net list, pulled from a tournament winner, would crush anyone. I use my Chaos Space Marines that have been my go-to army, my default, the one I don't have to think about when I'm playing because I'm so familiar with them. He was overconfident and liked killing my units, and it seemed to be down to the wire by the end of turn 2. But as turn 3 began, he realised that he controlled no objectives, and I controlled them all. He hadn't used the speed of the army, put units in the wrong role, used the wrong units to target my cultist light infantry, and they were claiming all objectives except his rear, which was held by my Terminators. The game continued. We had gathered quite an audience by now, as it looked like this wicked unbeaten tournament list would fall to someone who thought cultists were overpowered. And I do think that, I know that, and Games Workshop agrees with me, because they limited the number of cultists you can include to be at most half your army. Chaos cultists have been overpowered since they appeared in Chapter Approved in 3rd edition as a 3-point dude with a knife. As my opponent saw that he scored no victory points at the start of his turn, the fight went out of him, and his face dropped. He slammed his fist on the desk and said, "We're done here." Oh, the crowd cheered. They chanted my name and gave praise to the club, to my commitment to my ideals, to the cultists as a unit. A woman gave birth and named it Cultist Chan in honor of the occasion. And as the applause and cheers died down, I looked over at my opponent. He was in tears, hiding his eyes behind his sleeve. And I said to him, when you have a strong bond with your army, when you believe in the heart of the dice, then you will find glory on the tabletop. He was a changed man. It feels like no time at all has passed, and yet you too are a changed person. Unless you agreed with me already and have watched this far because you were entertained. Nah, couldn't be that one. Must be the profound change in how you think about the world. So yeah, this was a video on why you should choose a familiar army over a new one when going to a tournament. If you have the time, you should choose to get better and adapt your current go-to army instead of trying to learn up a new army. At some point I'll make a video on how to pick units for your army list, and another on which army you may enjoy playing if you did want to start a new one. If you want more 40k melodrama, I suggest the video on the Ryans, or if you prefer genuine rules focus, my video on the one rule transformation in 10th edition that changes everything. Have a great day of 40k, my darlings and viewers.